Magandang umaga po. Welcome po sa webinar series ng UP College of Education na pinamagatang Education, Resilience, and Learning Continuity in the Time of COVID-19. Nasa webinar series session 11 na po tayo na ang topic ay Home-Based Learning for Older Students. Ako po ay si Assistant Professor Maria Mercedes Arzadon, or Teacher Ched, yun ang tawag sa akin sa aming kolehiyo. Kung ating titignan yung nangyayari ngayon sa mundo ng edukasyon dahil sa COVID pandemic, ay maraming mga challenges, kagaya ng school closure. At one time, noong April, sa buong mundo ay mga 1 bilyon na mga estudyante ang hindi pumapasok. Ngunit may mga bansa na nagbukas na yung klase nila, meron ng face-to-face classes. Subalit nagiging erratic dahil kung tumataas ang COVID cases, babalik ulit sila sa remote learning. So sa Pilipinas, dideklara ng ating gobyerno na dapat remote learning. Wala munang papasok ng face-to-face habang wala pang vaccine. Tapos maraming problema sa problemang financial. Maraming nawalan ng trabaho, bumagsak ang negosyo, hindi kumikita. Tapos dahil sa remote learning, iniisip na magulang, paano kami bibili ng computer, laptop? Paano mag-subscribe? So ang daming anxiety, ang daming mga iniisip, mga sama ng loob. At yung iba ay naging biktima ng COVID at maaring namatayan. So they're experiencing grief in their family. At ang isang malaking worry ng mga educators ngayon ay yung dropping out. Kasi po based dun sa experience ng Ebola sa West Africa noong mga 2013, ay napakadami. Napakadami ang mga estudyante. 25% of their total population ang hindi na bumalik sa klase pagkatapos ng mga 8 months na walang pasok. At binabantayan ko po ang ating enrollment. Sabi last time na 25% ang enrolled last year, ang hindi pa nag-i-enroll ngayon. Kung ito-total natin, kung sa lahat ng population ng mga school age, youth and children, potentially meron tayong 10 milyon, ganyang karami, 10 milyon na kabataan ang magiging out of school. So kailangan natin pala kasi ng ating back to school campaign, Or pagkatapos ng pandemic, talagang dito natin pupuspusin ang ating pag-i-encourage sa mga bata na bumalik ulit sa klase. So dahil dito sa mga maraming nangyayari sa mundo natin, sa mga challenges sa education, ay nagkaroon ng isang komite, yung tinatawag na Task Force Edukasyon. Ang aming kolehiyo, nabuo ito ng mga April, and we began to meet, nag-volunteer yung mga professors, mga teachers, na sumama sa task force na to. And we started discussing ano ba yung mga dapat nating gawin, ano ba yung nangyayari ngayon sa aming mundo. Nag-a-attend kami ng mga iba't ibang mga forums. And then we came up with a plan, with a paper. At itong webinar na to ay isa sa mga produkto ng aming usapin. At ang Task Force Education na to ay pinamumunuan ng aming chairperson na si Dr. Sherlyn Monterola. At ang kanyang vice chair ay aming dean na si Dr. Jerome Bienbaje. So ito po yung mga miyembro ng aming Task Force Education. At we agreed together na ang guiding principles dapat sa panahon ng pandemic ay ito: compassion, inclusion, innovation. Yung tatlong yan. At ang topic, ang major theme ay Education, Resilience, and Learning Continuity Plan. So, yung tatlong ito na prinsipyo ang importante. So sa learning resilience Education, Resilience, and Continuity Plan, we identified 8 key strategies. Nandyan po yan. Prioritize teacher and student safety, health, and well-being. recalibrate curricular and assessment priorities, enact flexible learning options, and empower families for home-based learning. Ano? So, kung babalikan niyo po yung aming Facebook page ng College of Education, makikita niyo doon yung mga webinars na naganap na covering these topics. So, nung Saturday po, nagsalita ng aking colleagues, si Teacher Hazel, si Teacher Maita, about empowering families, focusing on younger children. And I will be talking about older children. So, susunod na linggo ay maririnig din natin yung mga webinars on the following topics. Yung Lead for Resilience and Innovation, Redesign the Learning Environment, Evaluate Education Financing, and Create New Knowledge. So, exciting po itong mga topics na to. And I hope that you will be finishing, yung mga susunod pang mga webinars. At kung buuin yung framework namin, ito po yung isang graphic representation. Now, I would like to start my talk on parenting, sa quote na to. By the way, magiging useful ito sa mga teachers as they think of enabling, empowering the parents ng mga estudyante nila. Useful din itong talk na to sa mga parents. Alam ko maraming parents ang nanonood ngayon, yung mga homeschooling parents, hello. Yung mga parents ng mga member ng ALS, yung mga ALS students namin, mga adult student, nanonood ngayon, hello. So sana ay maging magandang ating usapan sa topic na to. So sabi ni Winston Churchill, na siyang presidente ng World War II, never let a good crisis go to waste. At alam nyo ba, nung dahil sa World War II na nangyaring gera na to, syempre ang issue nun ay sina Adolf Hitler, nagkaroon ng genocide, dahil pinersecute yung mga Jews, yung mga may kapansanan. Dahil sa nangyaring tragedy na to, ay nagkaroon ng pagsama-sama, nagkaroon ng agreement ang mga bansa all over the world na magkaroon ng Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So doon to nagsimula, At sa mga educators, dahil sa Universal Declaration of Human Rights, doon nagsimula ang inclusive education, pagkilala sa mga learners with special needs, pati indigenous education, and even mother tongue, multilingual education. Doon nagsimula yon, dahil sa pagkilala ng karapatang pagtao ng lahat ng tao sa buong mundo. Sabi rin ng isang sociologist na si Walden Bello, as he reflects on the COVID crisis, one must not simply talk about accommodating to a new normal, but creating a new system. So sabi niya, pagkakataon ito para mag-create tayo ng mga bagong practices. Okay, ano kaya yung mga practices na to? Ano yung mga opportunities na to? Ano yung opportunities in education? Sometimes we think of COVID as puro problema, challenges, but there are also opportunities that we can take advantage of. Isa dito, dahil hindi po mapasok yung mga bata, yung mga kabataan ay nasa bahay kasama ng mga magulang, ay pagkakataon na may strengthen ang family bond. Kasi noon maghapon, minsan may mga practice pa sa weekend, yung mga bata, lagi silang wala sa bahay, puro na lang kaklase, school, kaya nawawala, nawi-weaken yung relationship. But now, kasama nila yung tatay, nanay, mga lolo, lola nila. This is a chance for them, to reconnect with their families. Pangalawa, parents can reclaim their role as teachers of their children. Kasi siguro naging busy na yung mga magulang, okay? Hanap buhay. Sabi nila, okay, magbabayad lang kami ng tuition nyo, magbibigay kami ng allowance nyo, okay, bahala na yung school sa edukasyon nyo. Okay, so naging hands-off sila, and that's very tragic. Okay? Dahil, can you imagine yung teacher, sa kanya nakasalalay lahat ng edukasyon ng kanyang mga estudyante. Dapat importante yung partnership. Kailangan doon na kasama, actively involve ang magulang sa pag-aaral ng kanilang anak. Actually, may mga studies sa PISA, ito ay yung isang international test. Nakita nila na yung mga batang matataas ang score sa PISA, lalo na sa literacy, ay sila yung mga batang binabasahan ng magulang nila ng mga libro mula nung bata pa sila. So, kung ang parents are involved sa edukasyon, sa pag-aaral ng anak nila, ay makikita mo yung result nito habang tumatagal. So, pangatlo, dahil nag-aaral ng mga bata sa school, sa traffic, papasok katapos ng school, merong tutor yung iba, may mga practice saan-saan, minsan may mga assignments sa gabi. So may mga batang nagkakasakit, na-burn out, iba na de-depressed dahil sa overwork. Kaya ngayon dahil pandemic, sa bahay, bawal lumabas. So this is an opportunity for children to rest, okay, to play. Hindi lang puro mga ano-anong trabaho sa school, to sleep, to regain their health. Next, this is also an opportunity for children to learn household chores kasi dati puro mga aral-aral lang, lalo kung grade conscious. So this is a time for them to learn to learn practical skills. Like yung anak ng aking kaibigan, ayun, nagtanim siya. Mayroon siyang garden. Gumawa sila ng mga face mask na kakaiba, So, yung iba nagtitinda sila sa sari-sari store nila. Yung iba nag-start ng kanilang online business. Okay, so itong mga to ay hindi nila nagagawa kung regular year. Okay, related to that, this is also an opportunity to learn to strengthen their life skills, lalo na yung resilience, Kasi anong first time na mangyari to sa ating mundo? How can we learn? How can we cope with all these challenges? Okay, next is the COVID-19 can be a teachable moment. So children will learn, ano ba yung virus na yan? Ano pinagkaiba niyan sa Ebola? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng flattening the curve? Okay, bakit kailangan mag-face mask, etc. So this is an opportunity for children to deepen their understanding about pandemic, about the environment. Kasi kaya nagkaroon ng, kung ang teorya nila ay nanggaling sa isang market sa China, dahil kumain sila ng bats or whatever. So, dapat dito natin makukuha yung lesson of caring for the environment. May mga bagay dapat na hindi kinakain. Dapat binabantayan, kung ano yung mga binibenta sa palengke. And then, the most important lesson for me as an educator is the opportunity for children to learn to be an independent learner. Kasi dati, kung ano lang yung sinasabi ng teacher, okay, kung ano yung sasabihin ng school, ayun lang yung ginagawa. Pero ngayon, natututunan ng mga bata na paano niya i-motivate yung sarili niya. Okay? Nakikita niya na bakit ba ako nag-aaral? This is an opportunity to reflect. Bakit ba siya nag-aaral? Okay, how can I develop my own reason, my own vision sa aking pag-aaral? Okay, so magandang chance ito. So I hope that during this pandemic ay maaabot natin itong mga goals na to. Parang goals na rin siya. We can take advantage of all these opportunities. Now, as we answer this question for my topic, how to empower families for home-based learning, magandang tignan natin, saan ko ba kukunin? Saan natin kukunin yung mga lesson to answer this question? So, ang isang source ay tanungin natin, ano nga ba yung natural ng ginagawa? Ano na yung mga ginagawa ng mga parents, caregivers, yung mga elders in educating their children? Kasi ang education naman, hindi lang yan formal education. Merong non-formal, may informal education. May nangyayari sa bahay, sa komunidad, na transmission of knowledge. Ano na nga yung ginagawa nila? Para doon na lang yung sususugan mo na lang, you can just build on what they know. You can build on their existing practices. Okay? So marami nagsasabi sa atin na ang aking first teacher ay ang aking magulang. So, ano yung kakayanan ng magulang sa pagtuturo na pwede nating ma-enhance during this time na home-based ang learning. Pangalawa, this is an opportunity to learn from the homeschoolers. Alam niyo ba na marami tayong homeschoolers sa Pilipinas? Ito yung mga parents who decided to educate their children at home na imbis na ipadala nila yung anak nila sa eskwelahan, sa bahay nila tinuturuan. Ako po ay naging isang homeschooler din, ano? Grade 5 na yung anak ko nung first time niyang pumasok sa school. So before grade 5, sa bahay lang siya, ako nagtuturo sa kanya. No? So this is an opportunity for us to learn from them. Kasi sila na yung parang expert sa pagtuturo sa anak. Ano? So let's also learn from the homeschool providers. Maraming homeschool providers sa Pilipinas. So ano ba yung ginagawa nilang pag-equip sa mga magulang, pag-guide sa mga magulang? How do they enable the parents to motivate their children to develop the motivation and the discipline for learning? Kaya ang ginawa ko po sa talk ko na to ay nag-interview ako ng mga homeschool providers at saka mga homeschooling families. Marami akong natutunan. At yung isang homeschooler ay nagbigay pa sa akin ng kanyang libro, si Madam Novi Ann Tan, na isang matagal ng homeschooler. Silang dalawa ay involved sa homeschooling ng kanilang anak. So, this is an opportunity for them. Sa time na to, I hope that they will be open. Kung may mga kilala kayong homeschooler, that you will hear from them. So, I'll be sharing lessons that I learned sa aking mga interviews sa kanila. Okay, bakit ba importante ang role ng magulang sa panahon ng remote learning na to, alam nyo, mayroong mga pag-aaral na lumabas. Pinag-aralan nila yung mga online open courses, yung mga MOOCs. This is a very recent study. They found out na yung mga 5.63 million learners na nag-enlist sa MOOCs in a span of 6 years, 5% lang ang nakatapos. Imagine 95% ang nag-enroll, nag-enlist sa MOOCs, pero hindi natapos. May pag-aaral din sa US 2019 kasi sa Amerika may mga virtual, mga online kinder to grade 12 na mga schools sa US, and they found out na 60% ang hindi nakakaabot sa grade level, nagka-underperform at mataas din ang drop rate nila, So imagine kung online ang ating mode ngayon, itong taon na to, napakalaki ang chance na mag-fail based on these studies. At sabi ng mga gumawa ng pag-aaral na to, ang mga possible reason bakit mataas ang dropout, nag-underperform, ay mahina raw yung tinatawag na teaching presence. Okay? At yung social presence, yung feeling na nandyan yung nagtuturo at may mga kaklase ka. At yun ang hindi napalakas, So, kaya dito sa COVID, pandemic na to, ang magiging teacher, dahil malayo si teacher, nasa school siya, ang teacher ngayon, ang magbibigay ng teaching presence, ay yung magulang, yung kasama sa pamilya. So, we need to strengthen, we need to equip them so that they can provide the support. Otherwise, as the study would show, talagang hindi magiging successful ang programang ito. Okay, ngayon ang isang nabanggit ko kanina na isang dapat pag-aralan natin ay ano na ba yung natural na paraan na ginagawa ng magulang and elders sa kanilang mga anak. May tinatawag na intergenerational transmission of knowledge and skills in home-based economies. Kunyari yung mga magsasaka, yung mga fishermen, yung mga artisan, yung mga woodcarvers, paano nila pinapasa yung kanilang kaalaman sa kanilang mga anak. May mga anthropologists na gumagawa ng pag-aaral na to. Yung yung pinaka-popular are si David Lancy. So, inipon niya lahat ng mga case studies, ethnographies, ng mga anthropologists through the years from the 1960s. At tinignan niya ano ba yung pattern ng pag-educate, yung pattern ng socialization, knowledge transmission ng mga magulang sa kanilang mga anak. Ano? So ito yung mga libro niya, The Anthropology of Learning in Child. Ito yung pinaka-recent. Anthropological Perspective on Children as Helpers, Workers, Artisans, and Laborers. At meron din nagsulat tungkol sa pagpapasa ng weaving knowledge sa isang lugar sa Central America. So ito yon, ito yung mga tinatawag nating artisans. So dito yung picture sa Bukidnon, yung mga gumagawa ng tinalak. So may mga na-identify na mga expert dyan, na sila yung pinapanaginipan nila, yung kanilang design, at yun ang ginagawa nilang fabric. Mahal ito, libo-libo ang worth nito. So paano nila pinapasa sa mga anak nila, yung kaalaman na to? Meron din dito, nakita natin yung mga gumagawa ng furniture. Dito yung mga wood carvings. Ito yung mga gumagawa ng mats. So ito yung mga pinag-aralan ni Lancy. Sa Pilipinas, isa ring part sa Pilipinas, kaya nasa Philippines din yan. Ito naman sa mga farmers. Ito yung aking ginagawang study, aking sariling ethnography. There was a time, a few years ago, na pinag-aralan ko kung paano pinapass on ng mga cut flower farmers ang kanilang kaalaman. Lately, sa mga vegetable farmers sa Benguet. Ako ay tumira doon the other year, at tinitignan ko rin, although ang aking topic ay yung mother tongue big books nila, nandun sa mga big books nila, yung mga paraan kung paano pinapass on ng mga magulang ang kanilang kaalaman sa vegetable farming. Okay, sabi ni Lancy at yung mga anthropologists na kasama niya, sabi niya, sa mga villages na to, sa mga communities na to, ang work is something that is shared, satisfying, and it unites people and dignifying. Kasi itong chores, itong mga work na to, ay siya yung konteksto, ito yung laboratory kung saan natututo yung mga kabataan nila. So unlike in our, society ngayon, na merong usually may isang breadwinner, sabi niya, sa mga ganong klaseng economy, in a household-based economy, lahat ay contributor. Okay? Pati bata, nagko-contribute sila sa economy. So for them, ang importante yung work because it's the means for the children to develop their identity. For identity as a kankanay, their identity as a woman, as a man. Okay, doon yung nagkakaroon sila ng nakikilala kung sino ba sa kanila, kunyari sa mga weavers, sino yung mga pinakamagaling mag-conceptualize ng design, sino yung pinakamaganda yung kanyang mapino yung kanyang paggawa, sabi rin ng mga anthropologists, itong work na to, it provides biological and social reserve capacity that can be activated under adverse circumstances. So as children are involved in work, nakakaroon sila ng kapasidad, okay, na mag-respond. Kunyari may namatay, kasi kunyari namatay yung nanay. Dahil yung babaeng anak, usually si ate, ay involved siya sa pag-aalaga ng anak. Naturuan na siya mag-alaga ng kapatid niya. Kaya kung may namamatay, siya yung nagte-take over. So it's through this work, through the context of work, na nahahanda yung mga bata na mag-respond sa mga emergencies, sa mga crisis sa buhay. Kaya si Lancy came up with the idea of chore curriculum, diba? Yung household chore. So ito, sabi niya, mga elders ay meron silang curriculum na tinatawag para matuto yung mga bata na maging competent, skillful worker. Kasi sabi niya, it starts kahit kapapanganak pa lang, kasi children are exposed to work early. For example, sa Benguet, sa mga nagtatanim ng vegetables, cabbage, patatas, kinikwento nila na baby pa lang yung anak nila, dadalhin na nila yung anak nila sa farm, Tapos ilalagay nila sa isang box, lalagyan nila ng payong kasi pareho si nanay at tatay nagtatrabaho. Okay, so bata pa lang daw nandun yung anak nila, nakahiga pa sa box. Later on, pag toddler na, lalabas na siya, naglalaro, nag-observe. At nag-i-enjoy siya at gusto niyang tumulong. Okay? So sabi ni Lancy that, the work is a source of entertainment and it provokes a desire to help out and fit in. And later on, bibigyan siya, kasi gusto niyang tumulong, binibigyan sila ng yung mga bata ng magulang nila ng tools. Sabi ng nagkukwento sa akin, bibigyan daw siya ng gabyon. Ito yung tool na paggamit sa paghuhukay ng lupa. Yung hindi matulis, para kunyari aaralin niya ng pagbubungkal ng lupa. And then later on, bibigyan din daw siya ng plot. Magtatanim daw siya. Tapos hinayaan lang nila kung paano siya magtanim. And then later, aayusin na lang ng magulang nila. So this is how they learn the skill of working. Gardening in that particular context. And hindi lang yung work sa farm, kundi pati yung trabaho sa bahay. So kagaya ng pag-iigib ng tubig, pag-aalaga ng kapatid, paglilinis ng bahay. So makikita mo dito, dun sa study nila na talagang pinaplano raw ng mga magulang. Kunyari kung mag-iigib ng tubig, maliit muna na timba, pag lumalaki, bumibigat. Okay, so these children, they learn at their own way, in their own way, at their own pace. And ang interesting na napansin ng Lancy, yung mga magulang, hindi sila yung nagsisermon o nagtuturo. Okay, parang they are enticing their children to ask questions. So that's how learning happens. The children will ask questions, and then saka sasagutin ng mga magulang or elders. Minsan, nagkikwento sila ng mga stories, para mag-communicate ng mga information na kailangan matutunan ng mga bata. Okay, so dito, lalo na sa farming, talagang maagang na-expose sa mga bata, and when na-expose sa mga bata sa work, and when they work, they also play, and they learn to trial and error, and then later on, as they progress, they find an apprentice, especially kung mga artisan, mga wood carvers, yung mga yan, kailangan ng master wood carver at nag-a-apprentice, nagiging helper, and then nagiging natututo na yung bata na maging magaling din na wood carver. So sabi ni Lancy dito, our society is against the exploitation of children. And yet, if one visit Kisoro, isang place sa Uganda, one will see far more young 4 to 8 years old children working than playing. A 4-year-old might be tending his first goat, a proudly achieved milestone in his development. A slightly older brother drives a small flock of goats. A 10-year-old cousin tends a cow and calf, and so up to the 15-year-old who's driving a herd of 40 cattle to another pasture. Not only would the children see these opportunities in a positive light, their parents would wax eloquent on the many benefits to their children's character and maturation that animal husbandry provides. So imagine the parents, they are seeing itong mga pag-aalaga ng mga hayop, na as a means to develop maturity. So imagine 4-year-old pa lang siya, imbis na sa atin naglalaro siya, nag-start na siya mag-alaga ng kanyang goat and so on. However, unfortunately, from the outsiders, they see this as exploitation of children. But for them, it's education. Okay, so ito yung parang comment ng mga anthropologists sa present, sa modern society. Nasabi niya, we are allowing children to grow up in a workless childhood. So, sabi niya, most psychologists would prescribe ano ba yung ideal and scientific model of childhood. So, when titignan mo kunyari sa internet, ano ba yung childhood, ito yung makikita mo. Okay, yung kanilang nagte-text, kaibigan, mga hobby nila, mga bisyo, ganyan, So, that model of childhood becomes the basis for parenting and teaching practice. However, sabi ni Lancy, yung ganitong model ng childhood is based on the study on a small population. Ito yung childhood sa mga bansa na tinatawag niyang weird society, Western, educated, industrialized, rich democracies. So applicable lang siya sa mga ganitong konteksto. Sabi niya that, hindi naman ito ang majority. A lot of people are still living in a rural setting. Kaya sabi niya, in a workless childhood, ang tingin sa mga bata ngayon, they are like fragile cherubs. Para silang mga cute na dinadamitan, nilalagyan ng mga ano-ano, parang source of entertainment. Unlike in a home-based economy, traditional society, children are seen as contributors to household economy. Ito, sila ay mga cute na angels. And then they are taught in an appropriate and safe environment, using expert-approved curriculum. See? And then, sabi niya, dahil hindi sila exposed sa work, sa chore, these children, they grow up to be bored, disrespectful, overweight, if not depressed. So, yun ang comment ni Lancy sa kind of childhood that's being promoted by media. And ngayon, tinitingnan din niya yung role ng schooling, okay? Even among us in development, may sinasabi na ang work talaga, there is work that is legitimate. Iba naman kasi, minsan na may misinterpret yung child protection policy, lahat ng work ay child labor. Sinasabi ng mga iba na hindi, mayroong legitimate work. For example, yung aming pag-aaral sa Navotas, sa mga batang nagtatrabaho sa fishport, sa mga nangingisda, nakita namin na yung kinikita nila ay mahalaga dahil yun ang kanilang pambili ng baon, pambili ng project. Okay, so they participate in their childhood, in their household economy. And dapat may mga educators na nagsasabi, especially na high poverty area, dapat hindi titignan yung work na bawal. There is legitimate type of work for children. So, hindi siya obstacle sa schooling. In fact, nakakatulong pa nga ito because as I said, it develops character, maturity, life skills. They become street smart. So, dapat yung education, yung school, should align its program and its schedule. Kaya natutuwa ako, may mga lugar sa Pilipinas na pagpanahon ng tag-ani, harvest time, they expect the children will be absent sa school, lalo na yung mga older children. Kaya nagpapauwi sila ng modules. So, imbis na mag-drop out na lang yung mga bata, dahil mag-absent sila, dahil nga kailangan ng tulong sa farm, the school is adjusting its schedule. At nagpo-provide sila ng materials na pwede nang iuwi. Ang isa ring nangyayari, yun nga, minsan hindi nire-recognize ng school. Akala nila, ano ba yan, bulakbol ka. Wala kang Hindi natin nakikita na marunong yung mga bata, natututo sila ng mga kaalaman, So, for example, yung mga bata sa Navotas na tumutulong sa pangingisda, dapat sila yung expert pagdating sa biology and science and TLE. Okay, kailangan minsan hindi nire-recognize ng teacher yung kanilang kaalaman, But at the same time, schooling can also provide opportunities for other options sa trabaho later on, kasi hindi naman lahat ng bata sa Navotas gusto magtrabaho sa fishport. Yung iba gusto maging teacher. Kaya talagang o maging police, kaya sinisikap nila ang kanilang pag-aaral. However, for children who want to sustain yung livelihood ng kanilang magulang, ay talagang sila yung mas nagiging less ang kanilang interest sa pag-aaral. For example, doon sa Benguet, yung pinakamayaman na vegetable farmer, mga milyonaryo siya, may mga pick-up siya, magandang bahay. Hindi siya nakapagtapos ng high school man lang, elementary graduate lang siya. So, kaya kunyari, ikaw ay yung bata, bakit pa ako mag-aaral? Siya nga, hindi naman siya nakapagtapos. So anyway, so dapat talaga ma-rationalize yung purpose ng schooling sa mga bata, especially in addressing dropout. Kaya before we go to homeschooling, kaya ang sinasabi ko dito, na meron ng existing practices ang mga magulang, ang mga elders, ang mga communities sa pag-transmit, pag-educate ng kanilang mga anak, ano? Na paano maging responsible, paano maging isang mabuting anak, ano? So dapat titignan natin to, i-connect natin, ano? I-connect natin yung mga as teachers, ano, during this pandemic na hindi pumapasok yung mga bata. Let's try to connect yung mga lessons na tinuturo natin. So kunyari kung yung bata ang tumutulong siya sa sari-sari store o sa pagtitinda sa palengke, ano? Maybe we can connect yung mga topics sa math, sa percentage, sa kanyang ginagawa. Aalamin natin, ano? Hindi yung sasabihin natin, ano ba yan? Baka tumutulong sa trabaho ng magulang mo. Now let's go to the issue of homeschool. I mean to the lessons on homeschooling, yung mga homeschooling, ano ba yung mga programs sa Pilipinas ng homeschooling. Alam nyo, kaya nagkaroon ng homeschooling na practice ay dahil sa recognition ng mga magulang na parang hindi sapat yung nangyayaring edukasyon sa school, ano? Ito ay nagsimula sa Amerika in the 60s. 70s, yung tinatawag na, ito yung mga panahon ng mga hippies. Ito yung mga libertarian. Ano? Sabi ng mga ibang magulang, ayaw nila yung formal schooling kasi daw parang factory. Pare-pareho, no? Yung mga anak nila parang nilalagay sila sa factory, dun sa production line. Tapos masyadong ina-emphasize yung rote learning, repetition. Okay, nawawala yung creativity, nawawala yung freedom ng mga bata, no? And then they just learn to become obedient workers. And then nagre-react din sila sa masyadong nagiging maagang schooling. Nung unang panahon, mga 8 years old bago mag-aral, ngayon paaga ng paaga. Okay, yan ang aking isang reason ba't ako nag-homeschool. Ano? I wanted my children to enjoy their childhood. I was resisting to the idea na gigising yung bata ng alas 4, papaliguan mo siya, madilim pa, maghihintay na siya ng school bus, papasok. Then uuwi sa hapon, pagod na pagod. Kasi ayaw ko ng ganyang childhood. I'd like them to enjoy childhood. I'd like them to love learning. Hindi lang sila natututo dahil may taas ang grade or para maging first honor, that they will not be motivated by competition or by grades, but because they love to learn. Kaya nung nag-homeschool kami, nag-relocate kami sa probinsya para paggising na lang ng umaga, yan, pwede silang tumakbo sa field, manghuli ng tutubi, okay, makit sa mga puno ng aratilis. Hindi sila na-pressure na gigising ng maaga sa araw-araw na pare-pareho. No? Like, we wanted them to discover, to enjoy learning in a natural environment. Meron ding mga, in the 80s, dito nagsimula naman yung mga faith-based group na maging interested sa homeschooling. Ano? That time, sa Amerika kasi, nagkakaroon ng violence sa school, nagiging masyadong secular, bawal magdasal sa eskwelahan. Ano? So these parents wanted to, their children to learn yung moral and ethical values that's important to them. So, kung titignan natin yung mga homeschooler, marami sa kanila ay nagagaling sa grupo na to. May mga Catholic homeschooler, Christian evangelical homeschooler, meron din mga Muslim homeschooler. No? So, iba't ibang religion. So, ito yung mga types of, families who tend to be inclined to homeschool their children. Sa DepEd naman, mayroon siyang definition ng homeschooling that was issued last year, DepEd Order 21. So sabi niya, interesting yung definition niya. Homeschooling provides learners with access to formal education, so it's formal education, while staying in an out-of-school environment. So authorized parents, guardians, or tutors take the place of the teachers as learning facilitators. While learners are expected to meet the learning standards of the K-12 basic education curriculum, the learning facilitators are given flexibility in learning delivery, scheduling, assessment, and curation of learning resources. So sinasabi niya na ang homeschooling ay bagay ito sa mga families na may mga special circumstances yung kanilang mga anak. Kunyari may sakit. Kaya sa SPED, Isa to sa mga modality. Or lagi nagbibiyahe. Kasi itong mga families, they want to be with their children. They don't like the idea of leaving their children sa mga yaya, no? So they want them to be together. That's also one of our reasons because ang work namin nun, palipat-lipat ng assignment. So we wanted to bring our children along. Yung iba naman, sabi dito, is because of the parenting philosophy ng kanilang mga magulang. So DepEd recognizes these reasons, this valid reason for homeschooling. Sa Pilipinas, I homeschooled my children in the 90s, pero noong 80s, napapansin ko na may mga nag-homeschool among foreign missionaries at yung mga military families na na-assign dito. And then later on, nagkaroon na ng mga homeschool provider. Ang oldest na alam ko ay yung SOT School of Tomorrow, the Master's Academy, now Homeschool Global, Angelicum. As far as I know, ito yung mga oldest. Ngayon, there are more than 20, almost 30 private homeschool providers offering preschool to senior high school. Sa DepEd, they are classified as alternative delivery mode, ADM. Okay? And some of them are catering to Filipino families overseas, like yung mga nasa Middle East, nasa Cambodia, Thailand. So ito yung kanilang tinutulungan kasi some families abroad, mga Filipinos, they wanted their children to be schooled in a Filipino curriculum. Kasi hindi sila, babalik naman sila dito. And sometimes, issue rin ng safety. Ito yung mga reasons why they are homeschooling. I think nabanggit doon sa DepEd order. Pero nakita namin sa aming study na marami nag-homeschool dahil sa negative school experience ng anak nila, like nabully yung anak nila, or nawala ng gana sa pag-aaral, ayaw na mag-aral, And sometimes it's economical, mas nakakamura sila, Kasi ang tuition dito is mga 20 plus, karamihan 20 plus. Although yung mga bagong homeschooling providers ay yung mga 10K, may mga mahal din, mga 100K, Then may discount sa kung marami kang anak, and then ngayong pandemic, discounted din. And kung titignan mo yung curriculum ng mga homeschoolers na to, they're using, yung mas marami silang choices. Many of them are using international curriculum, Ibig sabihin, if you study in their program, para ka na rin graduate ng schools abroad, Meron silang international accreditation. So, recognized sa Pilipinas, saka abroad yung iyong diploma. So imagine you get all these benefits, pero hindi kalakihan yung tuition. Okay, so ito yung aming homeschooling support group. Itong una, Yahoo group pa kami. Imagine there were only 600 of us. And then nagkaroon ng Facebook, naging Pinoy Homeschooling. Dahil dumadami ang interest sa homeschooling dahil sa pandemic, 11,000 na yung members namin, Pero yung pinakamalaking Facebook group na pwede yung salihan ay yung Homeschoolers of the Philippines Facebook community page. They have 35,000, si Donna Pangilinan ng isa sa mga leaders dito, Maging 35,000 ang kanilang members. So talagang nagiging, some people would describe this as a homeschooling movement. Nagiging malakas ang homeschooling sa Pilipinas. Napapansin siya kahit sa ibang bansa. Nakikita ko sa mga articles na may mention ang homeschooling sa Philippines. Okay, when yung mga parents who are into homeschooling, medyo broader ang kanilang paningin sa education ng kanilang anak. Because they want their children to have a happy and meaningful childhood. They value yung family bonding, yung developing interdependence, okay? They want to pass on the values, to develop character, and develop life skills, to their children to be street smart. And then the children will, to discover their strengths and talents, to nurture their strengths and talents, to build a fulfilling career and become financially independent, to be a leader, in society, to build a good marriage and to build a good family. So ito yung kanilang objective sa mga anak nila, napapansin ko. And they would like to integrate all these things sa education, sa education ng mga anak nila. They wanted that all these things will be met But at the same time, na gusto rin nila na natututo academically yung anak nila. No? So, ini-integrate nila itong dalawang to. Now, there are several types of homeschooling in the Philippines. First is in terms of affiliation. May mga families who are enrolled in a local homeschooling provider. Ano? Mamaya I will show you kung ano yung mga yon. Meron din naka-enroll sa international homeschooling provider. Ano? And then there are, I know a few families that they are enrolled in a regular school. Hindi siya homeschool, but a regular private school. And yet they make special arrangement for homeschooling with the owner. So may mga ganon na flexible. And then there are also families who consider themselves as independent homeschoolers. So hindi sila naka-enroll sa provider, no? So ang ginagawa nila, the parents put together their own curriculum. They use the DepEd curriculum and add some more. And then when the children would like to go to college or study in a regular high school, they take the children take the PEPT, Philippine Education Placement Test, or the ANE, Accreditation and Equivalency Test ng ALS. So that's what I did, kasi nung panahon namin nung 1990s wala pa namang providers. So I was an independent homeschooler. Taka pa nga yung DepEd. Sabi ng DepEd noon sa Pangasinan, bakit di mo pinaaral yung anak mo? Anong klase kang ina? Okay, napakapabaya ko raw ina na hindi ko pinaaral kasi anak ko 10 years old na that time. Yung isa 8 years old. Tapos nung nag-test sila, ang taas ng score nila pang second year high school na. Sabi niya, oh you see, ang gagaling ng anak mo. Di mo pinaaral, ano kang klaseng ina? Ganyan, So medyo madrama. But anyway, my children naman are nakatapos, okay naman sila, no? Yung panganay ko is taking the bar this year. Yung pangalawa is a teacher assistant and a Ph.D. student sa economics. At yung pangatlo ay tinatapos niya yung kanyang course on data science. So, that time when I did my homeschooling, medyo parang tingin ng mga kamag-anak ko ay pinag-experimentohan ko yung anak ko. Okay naman. That's why I'm talking about homeschooling, because I saw that it's really good. It works for us. Although I'm not saying that it's good for everybody. But during this time of pandemic, talagang walang choice ang mga magulang. They have to educate their children at home. Now, in terms of curriculum, of course, because they are accredited by DepEd, there are homeschoolers na tinatawag na closed curriculum. They prescribe their own curriculum, based on the K-12 and other, dadagdagan nila, depende sa gusto nila. So yan, dapat kung naka-enroll ka doon, yun lang susundin mo. However, there are homeschooling providers who allow open curriculum. The parents have the freedom to put together, yung curriculum na gusto niya. So, aside from DepEd curriculum, meron pang mga tinatawag na mga homeschool, yung mga famous na homeschool curriculum kagaya ng Charlotte Mason. Ito ay yung ina-emphasize niya yung reading real books, hindi yung textbook, pero magbabasa ka ng mga classics. And then yung exploration of the environment, yung character, yun si Charlotte Mason. Abeka, Calvert, Pace, Sunlight, Bob Jones, Khan Academy, etc. So some parents would experiment, they would like to be eclectic. So they would try, gusto ba ng anak ko to, or maganda ba to? So yun, some parents are more exploratory. So yun, dun sila sa open curriculum. But other parents are not so, gusto nila kung ano na yung sabi ng provider, yun na, So here are some sample, yung resources sa homeschooling. In terms of teachers, they have teachers, lead passers, psychometricians, they very important to kasi laging ina-assess, yung mga anak nila. May mga SPED teachers, yung who assist parents with children with exceptional needs. They have counselors, admin staff na tumutulong, tagasagot ng mga tanong ng mga magulang. Then in terms of materials, there are homeschoolers that provide only printed modules like School of Tomorrow, bibigyan ka ng paces, yun yung tawag ng modules nila. And then sasagutan ng mga anak, i-check ng parents. Ano? Some homeschooling providers use textbook. So textbook, pipili sila sa mga textbooks na available sa market, pipiliin nila yung maganda. And then they just produce a lesson guide and worksheets na sasagutan ng mga bata. Okay? Some homeschoolers also provide digitized resources. So, sinisave nila sa USB. And then, nandun na yung mga panuorin ng mga bata na video, mga slide presentation, and then the list of websites na pwedeng dalawin. And then for older students, some homeschoolers provide online learning management system, like they use Moodle, Quiper, parang yung ginagamit sa Open University sa UP. Ginagamit din nila sa mga high school, sa homeschool. Okay, so ito yung mga sites na binibigay ng yung pinyal, homeschooler sa mga parents nila na magiging resource nila. So these are the homeschooling providers. Ito yung mga nakausap ko, yung administrator or yung mga parents na nag-aaral dito. Catholic Filipino Academy by Brother Bo Sanchez, School of Tomorrow, sa Paranaque, Homeschool Global, na dating The Masters Academy, Pinyal Integrated Christian Academy sa Cainta, Go Pala Play Center in Silang, Cavite. The Learning Place, ito sa may UP, malapit sa UP Los Baños. Okay, ito pa yung mga iba. Ito yung mga bago, dito sa kaklase ko sa PhD, si Dr. Resurrection, yung Old Balara Christian Community School. Okay, bago siya. Chosen, ito yung mga bago. And then, ito na yung iba na medyo matagal na ng konti. Angelicum, Harvest of Wisdom, Homeschool of Asia and Pacific. Ito, International British Academy, California Academy, Kairos, Kids World, Colby, Proverbsville Christian School, St. Paul and Mark School, Victoria's Homeschool, Living Learning Homeschool, FMS, Centris, Hillcrest, Home Life Academy, Montessori at Work, Living Pupil Homeschool Solution, and pati yung Colegio de San Juan de Letran. Okay, so this is how, this is the process. So when you enroll in a homeschool program, ang una, meron mo ng interview. So, ini-interview nila yung parents, saka mga bata. And then, they identify, sino ba yung mga parents na who would need more support. So, teachers, you can learn from that. Kasi may mga parents talaga na talagang eager sila and they are prepared. Okay? But there are some parents na, for example, nag-homeschool sila dahil nagka-problem yung anak nila sa school. Sila yung hindi masyadong, ready. So they are doing homeschooling dahil kailangan, and then they provide training to parents, usually 2 to 3 days. Ano yung inaaral? Of course, orientation ng kanilang materials, but they also learn topics. They discuss topics as learning style, play and life skill, teaching strategies na pwedeng gawin ng parents, how to assess learning, how to manage your time and the learning place, etc. And then, itong CFA, meron silang prayer time. They anoint the family. Kasi mahirap mag-homeschool, maraming natatakot. Kaya maganda na meron time for prayer. And then, itong Homeschool Global and other homeschool providers, they usually assign a coach or an advisor. So, in this one particular group, dalawa yung advisor, yung isa academic advisor, tutulong siya sa academic work, sa curriculum. Yung isa is more on the family advisor, family needs, family issues. So maybe counseling, yung relationship ng magulang. So dalawa. Then they set up a call center. Kaya ito yung tatawagan kung mayroong issues. Ito yung email. This is how you can contact us if there are some needs. So yung admin staff nila are prepared to answer questions. Yung iba naman sa teachers mismo. And then they set up a chat group for parents so that they themselves would be helping one another. And after the orientation, ito na yung actual instruction. So the parents, they facilitate teaching learning. Sometimes the tutor would be involved also, lalo na kung yung parent hindi siya magaling sa isang subject. Kunyari, mahina siya sa math, so they will get a math tutor. Okay, so for smaller children, the parents will be more involved in teaching. However, kung lumalaki na yung bata, high schoolers na siya, the provider will be directly communicating with the students na, the parents is just facilitator or, support na lang siya. Pero hindi lahat, there are programs that the parents are the ones involved all throughout. And then there are homeschooling co-ops. Ayan, so one parent, so kunyari a group of 5 families, and one parent can teach each day, so Monday to Friday. Or parents would teach a subject area. So kunyari may isang parent, business ang kanyang course, so maybe pwede siya magturo on math, ganyan, or TLE. And then the parents are the ones who administer quiz, they check the papers, pati yung mga yung summative test sila din. And then once a week, I don't know kung sa lahat, pero may isang provider, meron daw silang once a week na kumustahan. And then periodically, may mga group activities. The children, the learners will come together in a certain place. Usually may building, yung homeschool provider, they do arts and crafts. Or usually pala, yung mga homeschool provider, naka-attach din sila sa isang regular school. Okay, kunyari yung CFA ay naka-attach sa Barcelona School sa Bulacan, So, may mga schools sila na regular, na face-to-face. Same time, mayroon silang homeschool na arm, So, the children would go to the center, they do arts and craft or sports. Sometimes the parents would organize field trips or the provider, meron silang community outreach, birthday parties, play dates, etc. In terms of assessment, quarterly, may mga parent-teacher conference. It's like a regular school then. The parents would submit the answer sheets and portfolio to the homeschool provider. Pag natapos na yung isang module. Yung iba, quarterly, yung iba, basta natatapos yung isang module, isasubmit ng parents, dadalhin niya yung module. And then, i-check. Of course, na-check na ng parents, may grade. Pero if double check ng provider, titignan niya kung tama. Kung nakita niya na may yung mga quizzes ng bata ay mababa, there are times na ipapaulit yung module na yon. Now, some providers prefer integrated portfolio. So, for every quarter, mayroong major project. Yung learner, yung for performance-based assessment. So, kunyari, ang project niya ay gagawa siya ng, garden. Okay? Yung garden, kunyari, organic garden. And then, doon niya i-connect, i-highlight niya doon sa project niya, yung natutunan niya from various subjects for that particular quarter. Okay, at the end of school year, meron ding standardized aptitude test that will be provided sa mga learners. And then the psychometrician will make a very detailed report kung ano na yung nangyayari sa batang yon to inform the parents. And then at the start of another school year, meron na namang isang test. Pero hindi kasama sa grading yung result ng test na to. Now, some homeschool providers are very flexible. They allow, na iba-iba ang levels ng mga bata. So there are situations na yung bata ay grade 3 na sa math and grade 4 na sa reading. So yun, very flexible. Okay? Now, as we talk about learning discipline, developing love for learning, independent learning, ano yung mga insights ng mga homeschooling families and older children? Kasi tinanong ko sila mismo, Yung iba dito yung mga ibang estudyante ko. Yung iba homeschool children, yung iba mga estudyante ko. Ano yung mga insights nyo para sa mga older children? How can parents, help them? Sabi ng isang parent, they should develop a routine. Sabi niya kasi, may mga batang na-motivate with a routine, but some children are motivated by a goal, ano? So ito yung routine. Sabi niya, yung sa kanila daw, they designed the routine around meal times. Around 9 a.m., breakfast plus homeschool. We gather at the table, and then they do math, grammar, writing, reading. Almost 1 hour lang tapos na. Ito ay 12 and 13-year-old. Then we meet at the table at 3 p.m. for merienda, and we do science and reading. Minsan, mas matagal pa yung pag-prepare ng merienda kaysa sa homeschool. Afterwards, Adam plays piano or ukulele, then taekwondo workout. Si James naman plays guitar. So parang 2.5 hours a day lang na structured. Ano? So yung mom dito was my student. Ano? So kaya nung nag-homeschool sila, she used unschooling. They relocated sa Mindoro. No? So even when I was also homeschooling, I would only spend 1 hour a day, no, for structured learning. So yun lang yung magko-compute sila ng mga math word problems. But during the day, the whole day, naka-embed sa regular task yung learning nila. Like, kung nagluluto or namamalengke, nandun na yung math, nandun na yung science. Pag nanonood kami ng news, yun na yung social studies. Okay? So naka-embed yung iba't ibang subjects na nangyayari sa araw-araw, sa mga routine, and then we just have short time for structured learning. It worked naman, ano? But the trick there is dapat you should develop the drive for learning para sila mismo magtuturo sa sarili nila. So ito yung mga schedule na ginawa ng mga homeschool children. Yung sa kabila, ito naman yung schedule ng kanilang trabaho, like laundry, paghuhugas ng pinggan, cleaning the kitchen, dining area. So meron silang schedule both for studies and household tasks. And how to make the schedule work? Sabi ng parents, dapat daw, you create the schedule together. The parents should create the schedule with their children. Hindi pwede na kung ano yung sabi ng parents, yun na yung sundin. Because especially with older children, because if you agree on a schedule, then you expect the children will conform, will follow the schedule. Kasi pinag-usapan niya yan eh. And then, during the study period, wala mo nang disturbo, wag uutusan. Okay, so you honor that study period time. And then, one child said na importante raw na sa umpisa ng araw, na the start of the day, you ask, ano ba yung plano mo for the day? Okay, how do you plan to spend the day? Para huwag kang magpaplano ng family activities kung meron na silang na plano, ano? Okay, sabi, gusto mong mag-grocery kayo, tanungin mo muna siya. Kasi lalo na for older children, may mga boundaries na yan, ano? So, you should know, you should align your schedule together. Isa rin dito ay yung study area. No? Ito yung laging sinasabi, dapat meron kayong study area. Kanina, ang kanilang study area ay sa dining table. Ano? Ito naman, sabi ng isang bata, yung hindi malapit sa bedroom para hindi makatulog. At maganda rin yung nakikita sila ng parents nila na area para hindi sila tamarin kasi may sense of bantay. Even if nasa shared space si anak while nag-aaral, try na maging tahimik para makapag-concentrate sila. Yan. Okay. So, yan yung issue ng study area. So, itong homeschool kids na to, si Josiah and Sarah, ito yung kanilang study area. Meron silang table sa bahay. Pero minsan nasa park sila kasi sa Baguio sila nag-homeschool noon. So, yan. Minsan pupunta sila sa John Hay. Yan, doon sila mag-aaral. Ngayon yata hindi pwedeng lumabas. So, sa bahay lang. Pwede sa pwede sa yard siguro. Another thing that motivates children is goals, setting goals. So itong SOT, School of Tomorrow, mayroon siyang goal sheet, So yung ilang pages ang babasahin each day for each subject. Pag nagawa mo na yung goal mo, i-cross out mo na to, So, yan, nasabi ng isang parent, isang critical role ng parents ay i-balance yung activities. Will further doing a thing help them or discourage them? Pag sa tingin ko, lalo lang silang madi-discourage pag itutuloy pa, I let them stop and do it the next day. No point pushing them to do more kung di talaga ma-process. Ano? So there are times sa homeschooling na medyo wala sa kondisyon, ano? Siguro nabubore or something, then the parents should not force. Maybe mag-introduce siya ng laro, okay? Do something different, ano? Table game, or magkantahan, ano? Sabi niya, kapag may lessons na mahirap sa kanila, I journey with them. Sinasamahan ko silang magsagot. So they are using SOT paces, ano? Medyo repetitious kasi to. Kahit mabagal at matagal, we work on those lessons together hanggang maintindihan nila. And then we rejoice together pag naintindihan na. Okay, sabi ng isang bata, ang isang nagpupush daw sa kanya to complete the goal is, kung natapos niya kasi yung kanyang goal for the day, kunya sa morning, sa hapon, binibigyan na siya ng freedom ng parent niya to do whatever, he wanted to do during the day. So yun, the idea na pag natapos ko to, I can do whatever I want is a motivating thing for him. Ang isang paulit-ulit na sinasabi ng mga na-interview kong mga bata ay, even the parents, is let the kids pursue their interests. Okay, sometimes we think of interest na hobby na wala namang kinalaman yan sa pag-aaral ano? Parang extracurricular nga ang tawag. Pero very interesting na iba ang tingin ng mga bata dito, ano? So ito yung example ng interest niya. Like sabi dito ni Kame, James loves music and Dungeons and Dragons. Ano? Ito ay isang high-level tabletop games. He plays online every Saturday with Kuya and Ates from Pinas and US. And then he joined Connect plus Create peer mentoring summer program online, and it's free. Once a week, he meets with another teen online for 8 weeks who mentors him to become a dungeon master. So hindi lang siya na naglalaro ng Dungeons and Dragons, he aspired to be a master. This week, his assignment is to write a story and adventure for the player. This is a program by Peer Unschooling Network. So kung may interest like photography, baking, they'll connect with teen mentors. So itong group na to, Unschooling Network, they would connect children all over the world for a mentoring relationship. Okay, sabi rin niya, turuan magluto. Okay, involve them in doing house chores and teach them how to handle money. I show them how I allocate our budget every month, and they divide the money into envelopes for marketing, meds, rent, savings, etc. Dapat marunong sila mag-manage ng household. Hindi naman po mahirap dahil they see both their father and I doing chores. Malaki siguro ang influence ng participation ng tatay sa chores when it comes to raising teen boys. So dito nabanggit niya yung role ng tatay. Kasi karamihan yung nanay yung teacher sa homeschool. Pero dito, very important na mag-participate. Especially nabanggit niya yung doing chores. Kahit na utusan mo kunyari yung boy na magtrabaho, kung nakita naman niya yung tatay niya na nag-cellphone na nanonood lang ng TV. So, hindi hindi, parang mahirap. Sa case namin na yung husband ko, kasi engineer siya, yun ang role niya, tagaturo ng math. Okay? So, mag-iisip siya ng mga word problem na exciting, or gagawa siya ng mga word problems, or magko-compute. So, yun, you let the father be involved, or other members of the family. So ito yung picture ni James and ni Adam. So dito nagluto siya ng takoyaki. Nagluto siya with his father ng pizza. At ito si James. Si Adam, mahilig siya ng yung kanyang suot na taekwondo. Ito yung buhay nila nung nag-relocate sila sa Mindoro. Talagang saludo ako sa kanila. When they decided to unschool their children, they relocated to a farm in Mindoro. Kaya in-involve yung mga anak nila, like nag-aalaga ng manok, ng baboy. Ito, they explore the environment. And what I like is, on weekends or during summer, they would invite the children in the community. So, naglalaro sila ng Uno, naglalaro sila ng ito, may mga artwork sila. So, talagang, kasi isang importante sa homeschool or sa mga bata na ma-expose sa mas malaking lipunan. Ano? For example, for me, after I homeschool my kids, I send them to a public school. We were in Bicol right that time. Ano? So talagang sa akin, gusto ko na hindi lang kasi syempre minsan masyado kayong nakukulong sa inyong environment. It's good for them to see yung iba't ibang sector ng lipunan. So natuto sila na paano magbunot, paano magtanim ng pechay, na ginagawa sa public school. So yan, ina-emphasize ko sa kanila na importante yung kanilang social development, social awareness. And so when they were in college, they found it natural to be involved sa mga organizations sa college. For them, that's more, dapat i-balance mo yung academics saka yung social involvement, yung participation sa mga worthwhile activities. Okay, ito yung life schooling, yung isang friend namin sa Baguio, she calls yung kanilang homeschool as life schooling. So they learn itong anak niya, independent homeschooler. So nakita niya pag inuutusan daw niya yung anak niya bumili, natututo ng math. So they set up their own tindahan, nagtitinda sila ng lemonade at saka mga baked stuff. So that's how they learn how to strategize sa business, in mathematics. And then she learned biology and other science stuff when the child, nakita niya nanganak yung nanay niya. Kasi yung anak, medyo alternative tong lifestyle nila. Nanganak yung mom sa bahay, yung water birthing. And so, itong si Star, she participated in the birthing process and she takes care of her younger brother. So, yung involvement niya sa nangyayari sa paligid, yung mga natural activities na to is providing the opportunity for learning. Okay, ito naman yung isang homeschooled child, si Sarah. Ito yung value ng interest. Bakit importante na i-support mo yung interest ng mga bata? Sabi niya, nung nabigyan po kami ng full support in our particular craft, which is dancing for me, doon po nanggaling yung desire ko to learn. Okay? Doon din po na-channel ang aking energy, discipline, interest, habit, and motivation in anything I do, be in my academics, work, or my daily living. In all fell into place dahil po sa mga natutunan ko from dancing. So natuto siya ng discipline, working hard, following rules, dealing with failures, respecting others, socializing, etc. No? Si Sarah, nahirapan siya magbasa nung bata siya. And then she found out later on na meron pala siyang dyslexia. No? So medyo struggle sa kanya. No? And she finished, kasi nga independent homeschooler sila, she finished her high school through ALS, but she was able to enter UP sa College of Music at cum laude siya nag-graduate. And now she's a dance instructor. She's teaching sa extension class sa UP and in a college, Wangming College. Ito siya when she was young. And she still dances ballet. What's interesting about Sarah and her brother, ang brother naman niya, pianist, is they learn from the real experts. So si Sarah, she learned dancing from Lisa Makuha, and then here's this famous artist teacher, si Solomon Maikowski, and other people. So sabi niya ni Josiah, who's now a piano and Lego teacher, about developing motivation and interest, my parents invested in good teachers in my chosen field of interest. They found mentors to teach us not only the subjects, but also about their lives. So parang ito yung sa mga yung learning sa mga work, yung artisan, yung being with the apprentice. So it happened to them. Okay, ito naman yung developing sense of control and independence. Sabi niya sa akin, ito yung student ko to, since mom ko po is a teacher, instilled na po sa akin early yung concept of independent learning. For the most part, binibigyan po ako ng freedom to use my time whichever way I please. Malaking epekto ang sense of control and independence sa teenager. Kaya I think it helped maintain yung motivation ko to excel academically. So sinasabi niya that the reason that he was studying hard dahil alam niya na, nire-recognize yung parents niya yung kanyang independence. Okay, another major skill na importante sa homeschooling ay yung reading, pagbabasa. Because ang ang framework, you learn to read so that you read to learn. Okay? You learn to read, then you read to learn. Kaya, kunyari sa DepEd, may tinatawag na alternative delivery mode like MISOSA, Impact, yung mga yan, para sa elementary. Binibigyan ng mga modules yung mga bata which they can study at home. Pero nag-start siya at grade 4. Like, MISOSA starts at grade 4. Bakit? Because children cannot yet learn independently before grade 4 dahil di pa masyadong nakakabasa. Kaya importante talaga yung reading. Kahit na nandiyan na lahat ng modules, kung di man marunong magbasa, if they cannot read with understanding, yun ang problema. That's why in DepEd, we have mother tongue-based multilingual education. Because if a child learns to read in his own language, then it will be easier for the child to understand, to learn the habit of reading. So sabi dito, how do you develop the love and habit of reading? According to Recalibrate, a homeschooling father in Davao, do away or reduce exposure to TV and gadgets. Parents or guardians should model love for reading. Dapat nakita nila na ikaw rin, nagbabasa. I remember my daughter told me na kaya raw siya hilig magbasa, lagi kong kinikwento yung mga favorite books ko nung bata ako, invest time and money in books, hindi lang English, pati Filipino, Kaya yung book sale, suki namin yan dahil murang books doon, Or sometimes, we would go to a library. And then sila, they read with their kids, especially before bedtime. So yung mga anak ko ito yung mga libro na mga binabasa nila, So varied, mayroong Tagalog, may English, ganyan, Sabi ng isang parent, when it comes to reading, mas importante sa amin yung habit kaysa type of reading materials. So they read whatever they like, minsan comic books. They can also choose online, paper books, or audiobooks. Si Adam po kasi obviously mahilig siyang makinig, Mas gusto niya yung may audio. Tapos laging may tea-treats, nakaset yung mood for pleasure reading. Kaya ito si Adam, habang nakikinig siya sa book, tapos nagsusulat siya, meron siyang popcorn, sa tabi niya. Book ba yun? Okay. Sabi naman ng isang mom, yung asawa daw niya, yung father ng mga bata, nagbibigay siya ng maliit na monetary reward for every book they read. Basta they write a summary or a book review, Yung kami noon, kasi ang trick dyan, when the kids are small, dapat doon na sila ma-enjoy magbasa, So, as early as 2, 3, we would read a book, minsan 3 times a day. So, umaga, tanghali, gabi. So, punong-puno ng libro, We borrow, we buy, ganyan, And then, later on, dahil naging habit na yung reading, it develops a lot of things, their imagination, their language, etc. Then, later on, sila na naghahanap ng libro na babasahin nila, So, if you start early sa habit ng reading, then it will be easier for you to teach your child when they're older because they tend to teach themselves na. Another good habit is yung dinner time. Ayan, ito yung aking family. Sabi ng isang parent, pinagkukwentuhan namin sa dinner table yung ibang lessons nila. Like kung may stories na binasa, we talk about history. We talk about the movies they watch. Sometimes we watch with them. So importante yung eating together. Okay, magkwentuhan. If there's one habit that practice that you should introduce to the parents this COVID year, ay yung kwentuhan sa paligid, sa kainan. Dapat hindi yung kanya-kanyang kain. Sabay-sabay kayo kumain, magkwentuhan, I remember kasi tinanong ko yung mga anak ko, ano bang naalala niyo sa homeschool? Kasi 1990s pa yan, malalaki na sila ngayon. Sabi nila, na-enjoy daw nila yung mga kwentuhan namin sa kainan. Lalo na pag-uwi ng tatay nila or pag-uwi ko from my part-time work, magkakwento kami ng mga nangyari sa trabaho, yung mga tao, yung mga events. And then sabi nila, that's how they learn to process things sa buhay nila, yung mga decisions nila. It's because of those stories that we told them, that we discussed with them. And we talk about current events, lalo na yung political issues, ano? We talk about their individual goals and plans. Like yung picture na to, every year, meron kami natawag na family planning. So we have a notebook, we would write there their plans, their goals, their wishes for the year. So isa-isa yan sa amin. And then at the end of the year, bago mag-start ng ibang year, i-evaluate. Okay, periodically, we would evaluate. O, ano na nangyari? Okay. Na-meet ba natin to? Bakit kaya hindi? No? So, yan. So, yun, yung discussion ng kanilang plans, goals, ay naging part na ng usapan namin. And sometimes, we played table games. Kaya yan, marami kaming table games sa bahay. Ano? Minsan may mga competition, etc. Ito yung isang issue, computer. Kasi isa yan sa mga pinag-aawayan, yung computer or, naging cause ng tension. Sabi ng isang bata, yung tanging rule namin is that computer shouldn't interfere with sleep time. Ayan. Pwede ka maglaro, basta wag ma-deprive yung pagtutulog. Sabi ng isang parent, no computer in the bedroom. Dapat nasa common room. Okay? So, ang ginagawa niya, they talk about their choice of games, bakit hindi ito pwede. Yung sabi ng parent na I also learn, nakikilaro din siya. Sabi ng isang bata, I wish daw yung magulang niya nakikipaglaro din sa kanya sa computer gaming niya. No? Okay, so ito yung mga suggestion. Agree when to use it and how long. Okay, meron kayong rules sa bahay, pag agree kayo. No computer beyond X number of hours. Lalo kung lalaki, maliliit pa, pag malalaki na yan. Sila na magde-decide. And then, encourage them to rest, stand and stretch. Huwag lang sila nakaupo the whole time. Drink water. Very important ang water. Kasi, normally nagkakaroon ng, nakukulang ang water sa katawan at doon nagkakasakit. And then, isang suggestion ng mga anak ko. Pag sa computer daw, dapat yung magulang, ine-expand niya yung paggamit ng computer. Hindi lang yung puro laro. Kaya hindi lang puro passive entertainment, manood ng mga sine, dapat, or gaming, dapat expand rin, they would use the computer for socializing, magbasa ng news and information, and then deep learning, they enroll in online courses, and then creating. Okay, maybe matuto silang maggawa ng video, or mag-coding. Yeah, itong anak ko na mahilig sa computer, ang ginawa niya, yung luma naming computer, inassemble niya. Meron siyang laptop na kahoy, wooden, eco-friendly computer. So, yan, so, yun ang naging project niya. Another issue sa mga parenting bigger children is yung conflict. So, importante yung boundaries. Sabi ng isang bata, if makikita ng bata na respected ng magulang ang free time nila, then they can respect na sundin nila ang parents nila. And then, sabi din ng isang bata, avoid nagging about school kasi mas nakaka-discourage. Instead, encourage them, and if pagod na, encourage them to rest. I think being able to respect the feeling of the child na pagod na mag-aral will mean a lot, since dapat ipaalala sa parents na hindi dapat maging goal ang high grades this quarantine because nakakapagod ang mag-aral at home na walang friends. I remember itong anak kong isa, tinanong ko siya, ano yung na-appreciate niya sa homeschool? Sabi niya, nung nag-aaral na siya, nung teenager na siya, the fact though that I never asked her grades, about her grades. Okay, hindi pala importante sa akin. So there are things that are important to me, like, they learn critical thinking, they read, they ask questions. Sa akin, as a teacher, importante yung marunong magtanong. Sabi ko nga sa mga students ko, mas mataas ang grades nila if they ask questions rather than just sasagot lang sa mga tanong ko. And then sabi ng isang teenager, adult parents, elders should also apologize to their children, especially when they did something wrong. If they've said a harsh word, they should say sorry because it can affect the child greatly. So, it's also mga matutunan ng parents. Sabi ko sa iba, ay, makinig ka, anak ka lang. Ma-pride. So, lalo ngayon, they are together dahil sa pandemic, sa quarantine. It's important that parents learn to be humble. To say sorry, to apologize. Okay, and maybe if they apologize, the children will also learn to be humble and apologize. Okay, so sabi ng isang parent, importante yung character and self-awareness, to develop, ito yung humility, self-respect. And then sabi rin dito na it's important that children will get to know themselves. Ano pa yung strengths and weaknesses nila. Okay, so now let's talk about practical applications. How can we apply all these lessons on workplace learning, on homeschooling? I would now be talking to teachers. Before you start the school year, you plan your learning activities. Okay? So, you know that, since ito yung nangyayaring learning sa bahay, i-connect mo yung mga performance tasks, performance output, to household chores, hobbies, interests, and family enterprise. Especially related to the competencies of education sa values education, social studies, math, etc. So, pag-isipan mo, ano ba yung mga chores, alamin mo, ano ba yung mga hobbies nila, chores nila sa bahay, trabaho, ano yung negosyo ng magulang, So, pwede mong ikabit ito, So, pwedeng sabihin mo na ang performance task mo ay i-video mo yung sarili mo habang nagsasaing ka ng kanin, mga ganyan. Ano yung naging proseso? You can also give more focus to life skills this year. Since, mahirap i-inject lahat ng academic topics. So can you imagine if the children will learn to be more responsible, more disciplined, if they would love reading more this year, Then next year, pagpasukan, you can, mas madali na matuto, because they have developed the right mindset. Then you create parent guide and supplementary learning resources. So wag ka lang aasa kung ano yung binigay ng region or division na self-learning modules. Magkaroon ka rin ng add-ons. Ano yung mga supplementary, ano yung mga pwede lang basahin, ano yung mga online activities, ano yung mga pwedeng gawin sa bahay, like makipagkwentuhan kay lolo, kay lola, gawin nyo yung family tree nyo, improve your, gumawa kayo ng family album, etc. Ano yung mga learning resources, learning activities. Then you prepare the parents and the students this year. Tingnan nyo, sino ba yung mga pwedeng kasama ng parents sa pagtuturo? Lolo, lola yan, older siblings. Build their confidence. Kasi isa sa mga major problem talaga is natatakot. Kaya ko ba? Hindi naman ako nag-aral ng education. Okay, hindi naman ako professional. So you have to build. Sabihin mo na kaya nila yon. It's something that is, doable. And then you connect yung household work sa academic knowledge. Yun, maggawa ka ng mga questions. Paano mo malalaman na fresh ang isda, karne and gulay? Paano maghiwa ng manok? Paano tumawat sa palengke? Ito yung mga practical knowledge. So, i-connect mo na siya sa math, sa science. Bakit kung bibili ka ng dilata, dapat walang UP? Bakit nga ba? So, ito yung mga concerns sa bahay na pwede niyong pag-usapan na maging jumping board nyo in teaching academic knowledge. And then, magkaroon kayo ng weekly or bi-weekly activities. Kinikwento nila sa nabasa ko, to increase teachers' teaching presence, dapat daw at the start of the week, or every other week, i-video mo raw yung sarili mo, batiin mo yung mga estudyante, yung mga magulang, na ma-feel nila na nandun ka, okay, na hindi mo sila iniwan. Then there should be a time for kumustahan, sharing, At yung sharing, hindi lang yung yung natutunan mo sa chapter na to, kundi you ask about their health. Ano yung natutunan mo sa gawaing bahay? Ano yung natutunan mo sa negosyo o sa trabaho ng parents mo, Ano yung mga hobbies, interests? Ano yung mga family bonding activities nyo itong nakaraan? May isang big homeschool provider na sabi ng isang parent, natutuwa raw siya kasi itong homeschool provider na to, na malaki to, isa sa mga sikat, mas kung nagtatanong daw yung kanilang mga teacher, mas tinatanong nila yon. Ano yung hobbies na ng anak mo? Kumusta yung relationship nyo? Okay, ano yung ginagawa niya sa bahay? So yun ang mas tinitignan nila, tinatanong nila, Okay, and then maybe sa mga sharing time nyo, magkaroon kayo ng i-identify nyo kung sino ba yung mga exemplar, sino yung mga pamilya na pwede silang magbigay ng advice, maybe yung pamilya or parents na magaling sa language, magaling sa math, TLE, okay? Yung magaling sa family bonding, ano yung ginagawa niya para maging close kayo, parang team building, ano yung ginagawa niyong activities. Yung parent na magaling sa life skill, magaling sa pagninegosyo, magaling sa pag-solve ng problema, So, i-identify yung parang assistant mo, na expert sa mga bagay na to. Para tuturuan kanila, sila yung magbibigay mismo, ng advice sa kanilang fellow parents. So, it's important na mayroon kayong may avenue to mga parents na to connect to each other. Maybe may chat group sila. So, but make sure na maging positive, Sometimes, kung di mo pa ba aalagaan yung chat group, pwedeng puro complain na lang, So, you steer the conversation so that there will be sharing. Okay? And then, most importantly, you should encourage the family to have fun. Okay? Kasi kung masaya, ano ba yung ginawa niyong bonding, maglaro, magkwentuhan, mag-videoke, mag-zumba together. So that's how you create the motivation, and that's how you create relationship. So at the end, as we review the opportunities na to, I hope that at the end of the school year, during the pandemic, when the modality is, remote learning happens at home, make sure maybe you target or you aim that at the end of the year na strengthen ang bonding sa family. The parents feel more responsible over the education of their children, that they are the partners. Nagkaroon ng nakapagpahinga yung mga bata, nakatulog, lumakas sila. They learn to become street smart, natuto sila sa bahay, nagkaroon sila ng practical skills, nagkaroon ng siguro negosyo, online business, okay? They learn to become resilient, and then they became knowledgeable about the pandemic. And finally, that they became more independent learner. They learned how to motivate themselves. They were able to use their interests as an avenue for learning and maturation. So I would close with this quote by Caleb Harden. Sabi niya, we should cherish every moment with family, not in spite of, but because of these dark times in which we live. So he was referring to the pandemic. So thank you sa mga aking interlocutors, sa mga na-interview ko, especially sa mga members ng homeschooling community. Meron kaming page, Loving Families, where we post our webinars on homeschooling. Nandun yung mga description at ibang mga homeschool providers. So just visit our Loving Families Facebook page. Okay, so here are the references. Salamat po, and I will be happy to entertain your questions.
Live na tayo, ma'am. Live na po kayo.
Hello. Magandang umaga ulit. Salamat sa nanood, nakipag-interact sa mga nag-post ng mga tanong nila. Ngayon po ay sasagutin ko yung mga tanong na nandito, mabuti konti lang yung tanong. Okay. So itong isa, sabi niya, galing kay Ma'am Gloria Madero de Domo, sabi niya, Ma'am, halimbawa tamad at walang interes ang bata sa mga skills na dapat matutunan, na paano sila turuan, ano ang way para sa kanila, lalo na kung matagal gumising, Well, tinanong to sa umpisa pa lang. I hope that as you listen sa aking presentation, may nakuha kang ideas. So as I said, lalo kung malaki na siya, na you agree together. Ano ba yung gagawin niya? Kasi sabi ko na if you agree kung ano yung responsibility nyo, then gagawin niya. No? And then I also said that i-connect yung kanyang trabaho sa interest, kung mahilig siya magluto, hanapin mo. And then dapat merong example. Yun nga, sabi ko, kung masipag si tatay, makikita niya nagtatrabaho, then mamamotivate din siya. And then, kung mga teenager na yan, kasi mabilis lumaki yung katawan nila, madali silang mapagod, they need sleep. Ito yung panahon sa buhay ng isang kabataan na kailangan niyang matulog na matagal. Okay? So, kaya minsan nung mga kabataan sinasabi, ay, batugan. Kasi nga natutulog sila, kailangan ng katawan nila yon. So, it's a season of life. Hayaan nyo lang siya. Then kung ano yung kaya niya, yun ang gagawin. And I also said earlier, pag hindi kasi siya na-train nung bata pa siya, kung tuturuan mo lang siya magtrabaho pag malaki na, mahirap na, no? Ito rin isang tanong, si Ma'am Sweet Lagrin Caseñas. Okay, sabi niya, good morning po, pag home-based schooling, paano masusubaybayan ni teacher yung student kung parents or tutor nila mag-teach, Paano yung materials nila? Well, I hope that you saw some answers, like sabi ko, pag pinasubmit mo yung mga materials, yung mga quizzes nila, yung mga worksheets, so nakikita mo pag may ginagawa siya, at saka yung mga weekly kumustahan, So hindi yung bibigyan mo siya ng self-learning modules and then bye-bye pagkatapos na ng school year. Okay? Hindi mo alam ano nang ginagawa niya. So dapat yan, nafe-feel niya na kinukumusta mo siya. May chat group yung parents. So nakikita nakikita mo kung ano yung kinikwento ng magulang. Galing naman kay Sir Elmer Brabante. Sabi niya, where do we draw the line between training children's values for industry and subjecting them to child labor? Yan, magandang tanong yan. Kasi as I said earlier, mayroong legitimate work at mayroong child labor. May mga batas naman tayo on child labor. So, kung titinan mo yung batas, ano bang RA ito? RA 9231, okay? Sabi dito na yung mga trabaho na it involves slavery, yung parang pinangbayad ka sa utang, ayan, may utang yung magulang, yung anak yung pambayad, or sexual, mayroong emotional, sexual, physical abuse, yung sinasaktan, yung sexual trafficking, prostitution, exposure to chemicals, harmful chemicals, mga motor, mga machines, so for example, sa nakita namin sa Nabotas, yung batang sumasama sa pangingisda, minsan nila ginagawa siyang tagabantay ng makina sa boat. Kaya minsan nahila yung buhok niya ng makina, ng motor, So aksidente 'yun. So bawal 'yun, yung mga trabaho na nakaka-affect sa kanilang health. Bawal din yung magtrabaho sa mga underground, yung mga sumisisid sa mga minahan. Yan sa Bicol, may mga na-feature minsan, yung underwater, yung sa mga tuktok, yung mga nag-a-advertise ng alak or whatever. So naka-define sa batas. But at the same time, tignan mo rin kasi minsan is uncomfortable ka, Pero tignan mo rin from the parents' perspective. Kasi we assume that most parents are after, they want to protect their children. Mahal nila yung anak nila, So dapat yun ang mga pwede kong sabihin. May tanong din si Sir Rafi Sanchez. Sabi niya, can we contain the attendance of the online training students? Attendance. Well, makikita mo naman kung nag-sign in siya. Kasi, pero what I'm recommending is printed, offline. Okay? Print-based. Kasi sa pag-aaral nila sa West Africa, nung panahon ng Ebola, yung mga gumamit ng mga online, computer-based na learning, hindi naging effective. Okay? Ang naging effective noon sa panahon ng Ebola epidemic ay yung mga nakikinig sa radyo. Ayan, yung group listening. Okay, yung print, paggamit ng mga worksheets, So natutuwa ako yung mga friends ko sa ALS, yan si Ma'am Rose sa Bicol, yung mga worksheets nila, pinapalaminate nila para pwedeng hugasan ng alcohol. So bumili sila ng USB, doon nakasave yung mga digitized video ng DLP, Dynamic Learning Program ng Bernito Capol. Meron silang mga video na pwedeng pagtuturo sa mga bata. So yung mga to, ito yung mga dapat gawin. Kaysa yung mga online na yan, kahit nga sa college, kasi ako magturo ako sa college ngayon, sa university, mas gusto ko pa rin yung asynchronous, kaysa yung mag-Zoom meeting. Kasi, can you imagine pag mag-Zoom meeting sa buong Pilipinas, sa pasukan, okay, ilang milyon yan. So minsan may nagsasabi na baka mag-crash. Kaya dapat, let's plan for, yung low-tech or print-based. Kaya very important talaga na ma-prepare natin yung mga magulang. May tanong din dito si Ma'am Leah Garcia Laroscain. My question is, how do we encourage our parents who have limited exposure to homeschooling? How do we help in giving awareness of this kind of learning? I think the government must play an important role in helping reach out families who belong to the lowest sector. So, yun nga, hindi pa masyadong kilala, kasi relatively bago pa lang naman ang homeschooling. So, mas nakikilala yan sa mga artista, like sino bang nag-homeschool, like si Julius Babaw, ayan, nag-homeschool sila, sina Pangilinan, si Anthony Pangilinan, Maricel Pangilinan. So, hindi pa siya masyadong sikat. So maganda magkaroon ng awareness. Pero kagaya ng kwento rin kanina, hindi naman yung mga official homeschoolers lang ang nag-homeschool. As I said, yung mga magulang, lalo na yung mga nasa home-based economy, are naturally educating their children. So dapat ma-recognize natin yon. Kaya nga, kagaya ng sabi ko, ang education, hindi lang formal education, mayroong informal, non-formal. Kunyari, kung titignan natin yung ating paligid, like yung rice terraces, yung mga nagugulat yung mga engineer, yung mga hydrologists dahil napaka intricate yung ganong technology ng pagpa-farm, yung rice terraces. Pero ginawa naman yun ng mga tao na hindi naman pumasok sa school, kasi wala pa namang school. Ang schooling kasi na-introduce lang yan yung mga 19th century. Okay, yung formal school, Before 19th century, learning happens at home, and in the community. Okay, sabi ni Sir Nathan Punong Bayan, paano po kung yung parent nakasama sa bahay ay hindi pa gaano nakapag-aral? Paano po kaya siya ma-assist sa pag-aaral ng ibang subject like math, science, MAPE, and others? Okay, kagaya ng sabi ko, na if the parents can help in developing character, maging responsible, maging discipline, na gawin nila, if you say something, gagawin mo, So kung na-build itong minsan tinatawag itong mga soft skills, life skills. Pag yung magulang, kahit na hindi siya magaling sa, academic knowledge, pag naka-build siya ng motivation, character, life skills, then magiging, yun ang magbibigay ng push para gawin ng bata yung kanyang mga academic work. And then maybe the teacher can seek the help. Maybe may kapitbahay, may kuya, may ate na nakapag-aral na pwedeng mag-assist sa kanyang pagtuturo. Ang isa ring pwedeng gawin, yun nga, kahapon mayroon kaming meeting, may nagsasabi na siguro tong year na to ay i-treat natin na gap year. Nahayaan lang natin yung mga bata to learn as much as they can, kung ano yung matutunan nila. Matuto silang yun nga, kung natuto silang magnegosyo, magtinda sa sari-sari store, anything that they can learn. And then at the end of the pandemic here, doon na lang magkakaroon ng bridging, i-assess. Okay, so yun ang ginawa sa ibang mga bansa noon sa magkaroon ng epidemic, okay, may emergency. Pag matagal na walang pasok, at the end of the, yung closure na yon, yung time na walang pasok, i-assess yung bata, and then kung ano yung gap, yun na lang ituturo sa kanila. So yun, sabi ni Sir Reginald Marcelo, Okay, I think similar din yung tanong niya, no? Ayan, okay. Okay, iba pala yan. Sabi niya, good morning po. How do we incorporate science subject in today's pandemic situation? What are the steps on how we deliver this concern to parents in order to achieve learning of these teens and be able to clear out some sensitive topics to be turned out to be sensible? Example, reproductive system, diseases, ganyan, ano? So, oo nga naman, pag-uusapan ay reproductive system, baka mahihiya yung parents, ano? Na pag-usapan yon, ano? So, depende, ano? Kasi minsan ang tingin mo lang sa knowledge ay yung science na nasa libro. Meron din naman kasing science na tinatawag na popular science, everyday science, ano? So, kunyari yung panganganak, ano ba yung mga practices sa panganganak na pwedeng ituro ng parents, ano? For example, pag nanganak sa bahay, naglalaga sila ng tubig, merong bayabas. Okay. So ano yung mga practices sa panganganak? Ano, bakit may bayabas? Ano ba yung function ng bayabas? Ayan, kasi yun ang parang antiseptic nila, no? Ano yung ano yung mga nangyayari, ano? Ano yung mga indigenous knowledge sa panganganak, ano? Sa sexuality, for example, na pwedeng pag-usapan. Okay, so dapat wag mo lang iisipin na ang science ay yung nasa libro, no? As I said, maraming kaalaman na pinag-uusapan, ginagawa sa bahay na scientific din siya. Okay, itong last question, ito yung pinaka-famous question sa homeschooling, galing kay Ma'am Teresita Leoncio. Don't you think homeschooling may hinder the social development of children? Yan ang laging sinasabi, ano? Well, kasi yung kahit naman nasa formal school, pwede rin siyang mahinder yung social development niya, no? So kahit saang setting, well, ang sinasabi palagi ng mga homeschooling families, kasi sa homeschool, they are exposed to people of different ages. Nandiyan si lola, kuya, ate, younger kapatid. Kasi yun naman ang totoong mundo. You socialize with all sorts of people. Unlike sa formal schooling daw, na pare-pareho lang ang kasocialize mo yung peers mo, ano? And depende rin yan sa magulang, ano? Like yung kami kanina, dinala niya yung anak niya sa Mindoro, imbis na mag-homeschool sila sa kanilang bahay sa Quezon City na may gate, subdivision, may security guard. Okay, dinala niya sa Mindoro, sa isang farming community, para makasama yung mga anak niya, yung mga bata sa paligid, ano, yung mga kapitbahay, okay, yung mga bata sa probinsya. Salamat ulit sa mga nagpadala ng tanong. I-upload po namin itong mga talks namin na to. Yung PowerPoint ay i-upload siya sa website ng UP College of Education. Meron kaming curated materials. And then, kung may mga tanong pa kayo, pwede nyo tanongin dun sa Facebook page na nilagay ko dyan, yung Loving Families. Yan yung create namin, yung kasama kong homeschooler, nandun yung mga may talk doon, yung overview ng iba't ibang mga providers, for those who are interested. So salamat po muli sa mga tumulong sa akin sa presentation na to, sa mga friends ko, sa homeschooling families. Salamat sa mga suporta, sa aking mga co-teacher, sa mga ALS teachers, hello, yan, sila po yung aking community. Salamat din sa mga homeschooling providers na nag-share ng kanilang mga experiences. And maraming salamat sa technical team na silang maaga pa lang ay nag-orientation na kami kay Teacher Shari, kay Teacher Tristan, kay Sir JP, at sa DICT, kay Sir Frederick. So, sana po ay bumalik ulit kayo sa aming next webinar na ito ay gaganapin sa Sabado, And then sa Tuesday sa Sabado and Martes, yan po ang schedule ng webinar sa College of Education. And then pwede rin yung recording, ini-store sa aming site yung recording. So kung may kilala kayo na dapat nakarinig ng presentation na to, pwede nilang balikan sa aming website or sa aming Facebook page. And then, meron pa ba? Yun lang po ang aking sasabihin. So, muli, magandang umaga, mag-ingat po tayo, be safe, and let's enjoy yung mga blessings kahit na mayroon tayong problema, mayroon tayong limitation. And I hope to see you again in another webinar in the future.